This is VOA Africa.
Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. It's Friday, May 21st. Welcome to Africa 54. We continue to work remotely because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But what hasn't changed is our commitment to bringing you the latest and most important news from the African continent and around the world. This is today's Africa 54. We begin in West Africa, 6 months after massive protests against police brutality in Nigeria. Some victims like Nduke Ekekwe say the compensation they have received is not enough as those accused of abuses go unpunished. Nneka Chile of Reuters has more.
Nduke Ekekwe can't contain his anger. A judicial panel has just awarded him 7.5 million naira after finding that members of a notorious Nigerian police unit had tortured him. That's $18,000 after an incident he says left him paralyzed from the waist down. No charges have ever been brought against him. The 35-year-old has gone from supporting his family to relying on his mother to dress him and change his diapers and his sisters for handouts.
That money is not enough. It is not enough. My two sisters spent more than 30 million naira. So what is 7.5 million?
Ekekwe accuses the officers from the now disbanded Special Anti-Robbery Squad, or SARS, of throwing him from his second-floor balcony. The officer in charge of the 2018 raid claimed he jumped and told the panel officers were acting on information Ekekwe was handling stolen goods. The panel concluded Ekekwe was stabbed and beaten in police custody. It has no power to bring charges, but recommended that police carry out their own inquiry. Lagos State Police did not respond to requests for comment. Ekekwe's case is one of more than 2,000 being heard across Nigeria. Such investigations were a core demand of the thousands of Nigerians who took to the streets calling for an end to SARS in October. But 6 months later, and many say they are still waiting for justice. Rini Odola is one of the two activists invited to join the Lagos panel, but she left after 4 months, calling it a sham. She says hearings have been slow, officers accused of carrying out abuses go unpunished, and some victims complain of inadequate compensation.
They've been frustrated to the extent that most of them have lost interest in the case. Most of these victims have spent millions in lawsuits.
A Ministry of Justice spokesman said it supported the panels. Back at this hearing, Ekekwe is persuaded to collect his check from a panel chair, Doris Okwebu.
To you, it may be small, but you must bear one thing in mind, that justice has been done to your case.
But for Ekekwe, this is not justice.
That report by Nneka Chile of Reuters. Leaders of the world's largest economies will adopt Friday a declaration recommending voluntary actions to boost COVID-19 vaccine production. They will snub a push from the United States and other nations on patent waivers, according to the final text. Vice President Kamala Harris is representing the United States at the meeting, according to an EU Commission spokesman. The EU executive, which co-hosts the summit with the Italian government, is set to announce it will set up 3 manufacturing hubs in Africa this year to boost long-term production of vaccines, according to one EU official who spoke to Reuters. The official said drug makers are also set to announce on Friday they will provide large supplies of at-cost COVID-19 vaccines to poor nations this year to try to redress a global imbalance. Somalia this year was hit by a double-punch second wave of coronavirus and political turmoil over elections that threatened to spark armed conflict. But while political tensions cooled, the impact on the economy is ongoing. Mohammed Sheikh Noor reports from Mogadishu.
Somalia is recovering from the threat of civil war when troops in April took sides over holding elections, and a controversial term extension for those in power that was later dropped. Over 100,000 Mogadishu residents who had sought refuge outside the capital have been returning to their homes. But Somali analysts say the impact is still being felt economically.
When there is a fear of looming clashes, prices of goods escalate, and people save their fear resources for future consumption. Many banks in Mogadishu experienced massive withdrawals, and many more fled the city, seeking shelter on safer places.
The political tension is added to the economic woes from the coronavirus pandemic. A second wave of infection is swept through Somalia from February, doubling confirmed cases and spiking official deaths by 48%. Somalia's tour and travel agencies are among the businesses most affected.
All travel agencies have laid off staff, and their families were dependent on them. The COVID-19 pandemic has severely affected travel agencies at large. Our agency was badly impacted, including income and operation. This led to redundancies and loss of livelihoods for many workers.
Somalia's hoteliers are also suffering.
This hotel's lifeline is dependent on both foreign and local visitors. 100% of our foreign clients have stopped coming, while the number of local visitors drastically dropped due to the impact of the coronavirus on the economy.
Officials say Somalia's economy will take time to recover.
The COVID-19 affected the entire world, and in our country, it coincided with the first year of the National Development Plan, which my ministry was set to implement in a period of 5 years. Our plans have significantly been disrupted, with a negative impact on aviation, private businesses, remittances, and many others.
Meanwhile, Somali youth are helping remove traces of the April clashes between security factions that sparked fears of civil war amid a pandemic.
The bright future that I am seeing is through the perfect example of the youth behind me painting the road. It is the hope of our entire population.
Mohammed Sheikh Noor for VOA News, Mogadishu, Somalia.
The Burkina Faso developed malaria vaccine is not the only solution to the mosquito-borne disease being tested in the country. Scientists in the West African nation have been breeding genetically modified mosquitoes that may reduce the ability of mosquito populations to spread malaria. Henry Wilkins reports from Bobo Dioulasso on Burkina Faso's cutting-edge research.
The mosquito-borne disease malaria kills more than 400,000 people each year, the vast majority in Africa. Target Malaria, an international group of scientists, is working in Burkina Faso on a genetic solution. Abdoulaye Diabati is with the West African Countries Research Institute for Science and Health, IRSS.
The objective of Target Malaria is to develop a genetic control tool specifically applied to mosquitoes to be able to drastically reduce or eliminate the density of mosquitoes.
The scientists are genetically modifying mosquitoes so their offspring will be only male, and any females they mate with after release will also produce just males. Since only female mosquitoes spread malaria, the disease should drop off quickly along with their population. In Bana village, where the genetically modified mosquitoes were first tested in 2019, locals were initially worried about the experiment.
At the beginning, people thought that the survey was to release mosquitoes in the village that will give us more diseases. But since we are working together, we do understand exactly what their purpose is. We even help them in their work, like collecting the mosquitoes.
GM, genetically modified mosquitoes, are another possible solution to malaria tested in Burkina Faso. The country also pioneered pesticide-infused mosquito nets. Oxford University's Jenner Institute in April announced a malaria vaccine tested in Burkina Faso with a breakthrough 77% efficacy. Target Malaria says climate and environment play a large part in the country's cutting-edge malaria research.
The WHO 2019 World Malaria Report highlights that over 94% of malaria cases and over 94% of malaria deaths took place in the African region. Therefore, when seeking out institutions to partner with, Target Malaria sought out institutions in countries with significant malaria burden and a strong desire to do something about it.
The West African Coordination and Cooperation Organisation for the Fight Against Endemic Diseases was set up in the 1960s and headquartered in Burkina Faso. The research institute's Diabate points out that their scientists are the third generation of malaria researchers.
When you grow up in this environment, malaria becomes part of your daily life, and it can make you think it's an inevitability that you have to undergo it. But you go to school, you start to learn, and all of a sudden your mind opens up, and so you realize what the source of the problem is.
And thanks to their hard work, says Diabate, Africa's deadly malaria problem is closer to being solved. Henry Wilkins for VOA News, Bobo Dioulasso, Burkina Faso.
Some of the migrants who swam to Ceuta have evaded authorities and are now wandering the streets of Spain's North African enclave. Many of them say they will not return to Morocco. Since Monday, Spanish police and soldiers have detained as many as 8,000 migrants who swam into Ceuta or climbed over fences and sent a majority of them back to Morocco. The rush of migrants began when Morocco appeared to loosen border controls, a move widely interpreted, including by the Spanish opposition, as retaliation for Spain's hosting of a Western Sahara independence leader. Spain's defense minister accused Morocco of blackmail on Thursday over its passiveness in the face of a surge in migrant arrivals in Ceuta earlier this week. After the initial surge of migrant arrivals on Monday, Spain deployed troops to the enclave. Kenyan officials are hoping to open a new transport corridor with the commissioning of Lamu Port in the country's north, despite security concerns. Here's David Doyle of Reuters with more.
The first ships docked at Kenya's new Deepwater port on Thursday. The East African nation is looking to open up a new transport corridor, linking its vast northern region and neighbours to the sea. The Lamu port, being built by China Communications Construction Company, will cost $3 billion to complete over several years. It will compete with ports in Djibouti and Sudan, as well as Kenya's main port, Mombasa. At a commissioning ceremony, Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta described it as making a dream a reality.
We are officially operationalizing berth number 1, and this means that we can start receiving ships and cargo at this port, and by July, berth number 2 will be ready, and by October of this year, the last berth, which is berth number 3, shall also be operational.
However, there are security concerns. The port is in close proximity to Somalia. From there, al-Shabaab militants make frequent incursions, targeting the lonely roads that cut across the jungles surrounding Lamu. Kenyan officials hope Lamu will attract cargo destined for its landlocked neighbours Ethiopia and South Sudan. It's building several roads towards those borders and eventually plans a rail network and crude oil pipeline.
That was David Doyle of Reuters reporting. Angola's Petro de Luanda punched their ticket into the next round of the Basketball Africa League with a narrow 66-64 win over Cameroon's FAP at the Kigali Stadium in Rwanda Thursday. Union Sportive Monastirien of Tunisia beat the Rivers Hoopers of Nigeria 99-70 to punch their ticket into the second round from a group of the Basketball Africa League in Kigali, Rwanda Thursday. My colleague Jackson Bungani has more.
Both teams exchanged early baskets as Petro's Valdelicio Joaquim drained a three-pointer early on. But FAP responded with their own three-pointer by Amadou Abdoulaye Haruna from the top of the key. Petro's Jone Pedro scored a layup after driving to the basket, while on the other end, FAP's Marcus Wiley Thomas Jr. drained a three-pointer to keep the score tied at 5-5. Petro's Chloe Dandao took a pass from Amadou Haruna and scored another three, followed by a layup by Pedro. FAP's Yves Louis Ngaransu made a turnaround jumper from the corner to pull within 10 points as the two teams went to halftime. A jumper and the driving layup by Petro's Antoine Scott halfway in the third quarter extended the Luanda team's lead. FAP tightened their defense with a block by Hezekiah creating a chance for a corner three by Marcus Wiley-Thomas, bringing them closer. Halfway in the fourth quarter, Petro's John Pedro catches a full court low pass and finished with a dunk to keep the Luanda side ahead. A steal on the layup by Scott kept Petro ahead, but FAP kept fighting with a dunk by Harupuna to pull the Cameroonian team close with only a few minutes remaining. FAP had a chance to pull even or go ahead with only seconds to go, but they failed to inbound the ball. Union Sportive Monastir got off to a fast start with a dunk from Majok Atel James. Rivers Robert Christopher Daniels received a pass from Benjamin Uzo and responded with a jumper. But by halfway in the second half, Monastir had jumped to a 10-point lead with a basket from Atel James. Monastir had built a commanding 22-7 lead by the time Rivers Benjamin Uzo scored a jumper. Led by the game's highest scorer, Radouane Slimane, Monastir built a 50-24 lead by the start of the third quarter when Rivers Robert Daniels hit a three-pointer from the top of the key. Radouane Slimane extended the lead for Monastir with a jumper followed by another jumper by Marcus Crawford, further putting the game away for Rivers Reach. Minutes later, Makrem Ben Romdani had an easy layup before Rivers Benjamin Uzo scored his own breakaway layup. Monastir pressed the matter with the baseline three-pointer from Wayel Arkaji. Rivers Solomon Ezra Ajigbeyi had a nice layup under the basket, but by then Monastir had built a huge 71-47 lead. Osama Marnoui made another corner three, followed by another one by Abda before Ferhas Liani closed matters with a dunk for a runaway victory by the Tunisian team. Radouane Slimani finished with 23 points for US Monastir, while Wayel Arkaji added 17 points in the victory. Robert Christopher Daniel tallied a game-high 25 points and 11 rebounds for the River Hoopers in the losing effort.
Stay with us for all the highlights throughout the tournament here on Africa 54. You can hear the games live on these local VOA FM stations or at voanews.com. Let us know what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. Our address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, a review of Mood, a new heart song by Ghanaian artist Mr. Drew. We'll be right back.
All this week on Africa 54, we are partnering with the BAL to bring you the best of African basketball. Don't miss it. Yeah.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Keith White is a Howard University graduate, and he has been a media and tech entrepreneur for over 20 years, working in several countries. While traveling in Africa, he met many creative people who expressed an interest in connecting with their American counterparts. The killing of George Floyd by a policeman in 2020 led to some in corporate America advocating for change. There was a call for increased diversity, equity, and inclusion. It made perfect sense for him to create Afro animation. VOA's Alzuma Compaore spoke to White during the first edition of the Afro Animation Virtual Summit.
Earlier this year, I started coming across a lot of creative illustrations that were online, mostly by Black and brown creators. And I was really taken back by the level of talent in the creation. In my career, which goes 20 years back, I never really had a reason to pay attention to kids animation. I just kind of really thought, or animation in general, I just thought it was a kids medium. But I was really impressed. And given the fact that we were in a pandemic and everyone was doing a virtual conference, it made me think like, well, maybe there's something that we can do. My background is building digital and media and tech platforms. So I reached out to a couple of movie studios in the United States to ask if we put such a conference together, would they support it? And immediately Disney responded yes. Sony Animation responded, the president of Marvel. And so those things checked off for me, and those were the inspirations for why I wanted to do Afro animation.
So tell us more about the virtual summit itself. How is it going to unfold?
We have over 1,500 animators and creators and illustrators and artists from around the world, coming from Africa, coming from Europe, coming from the Caribbean, coming from Brazil, North America, which includes the United States and Canada. In our panels, we have over 60 speakers. We have some amazing topics that cover not just inclusion and diversity, but tips and skills that will help animators and resources for those who want to get into the animation industry to further their career. We also are talking about many subjects in reference to the continent, how to leverage animation in Africa. And so our focus point really is to bring animators from all over the world, Black and brown, multicultural, to the summit, one, so that they get to know each other. There is a huge disconnect with animators and creators of color not knowing each other. So we hope that this conference helps in that way, in some small way. So connecting creators, allowing them to network, allowing them to partner, allowing them to collaborate. There's a huge interest from the movie studios as well as the television networks to actually recruit. So there are going to be a lot of recruiters from the industry looking for amazing talent. And so in any kind of small way, if we can help increase the creative diversity talent pipeline within the industry, then we feel that it would be a win-win for all parts.
What is one thing that you hope this starts, or this can trigger for all of the attendees?
Well, we want to see more activity in the overall animation ecosystem with animators and creators of color. So this is a real opportunity for the animation industry. I'm talking film and television studios to partner with this community. It's a net win for us if we, going forward, see this summit as a facilitator of moving this community forward in partnership with the animation industry. I think that for us would be a huge takeaway.
That was VOA's Azuma Compore speaking to Keith White, a media and tech entrepreneur. Now it's time to get into the weekend mood with this review of a music video that's got music lovers all across Ghana up on their feet. Music Time in Africa's Heather Maxwell presents, joined by special guest, Kwame Ofori.
Hey, everybody. Guess who's back?
Hey.
So Kwame Ofori has just come back from Ghana, and he's got some news about what's trending there. We're going to talk about a song and music video today called Mood.
Yep. Mood is by Ghanaian singer, dancer, Mr. Drew.
Let's watch some, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more. The first thing I love about this music video is the dancing. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, props to Aliyah for holding her own with Mr. Drew, who is, has a background of dancing. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful video with all the dancing and all that.
Now, Kwame, of course, in all of the TikTok and Instagram videos, you see this. I even got my own little...
Hey.
But what's interesting is in the music video, neither of the dancers ever actually do this move. So I don't quite get that part.
Yes, that's Mr. Drew being smart, because the best way he promoted this song, which is working for him, was to push it on Instagram and TikTok. And for those platforms, he had to recreate a whole choreography that's simpler for all his followers and fans to follow. So that's why you see this and the whole, hip gyration thing going on.
I see. Yeah, that's a lot easier than the...
Anyway, so Mr. Drew, stepped on the scene about 3 years ago when he won a competition, I think MTN Hitmaker. But before that, he was a dancer, choreographer. So he blending both worlds and pushing this song right now is like he's right on the money, right on time. And this is his time. And that is why, he was able to win, I believe, Best Breakout Act this year at the 3 Music Awards that just happened in Ghana in March this year.
Another thing I like about this video is the set, Kwame. The set isn't pretending to be anything other than a set. And Aliyah, that's the name of the dancer, right?
Yes.
She's even putting on her makeup up in front of the mirror as if she's about to go on stage, but it's all part of the music video.
Yeah, I mean, in literature and in theater, that's what they call a play within a play. So they're just having fun on set. Yeah.
That's exactly right. All right, so that's Mr. Drew and dancer Aliyah with the song Mood. Thanks, Kwame. Thanks so much for bringing this to our attention. Fresh from Ghana.
Hey.
Today, be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a great weekend.